Okay. Hi, everyone. My name's Mike Cohens. As Gina said, I'm from Fastacash. So I just wanted to thank Gina for inviting us to participate in this and for you all for being here and listening to my presentation here. So what is Fastacash? As you can see from this first slide, it's talking about payments going social. So if we can move on to the next slide. Oh, all right. All right, so we have 20 minutes, so I'm going to try to go fast here. That's fine with me. And I don't want to keep anybody away from their drinks and their fun. So what does Fastacash do? So again, we do social payments. Now, we're not a payment gateway. We're not a social network. We don't do any of those things. But what we do is act as a bridge between those things. So what we do is we partner with banks, we partner with remittance companies, payment gateways, payment service providers, to allow them to be able to integrate their existing systems into social media channels. So we're agnostic. We're not only a Facebook partner. We're not only a WhatsApp or a WeChat. We partner with 24 different social channels, and we combine those APIs into one single API that these different FSI companies can partner with. Right? So we look at this as building a global network and enabling these companies to be able to, rather than get disrupted, move into the way that people are transacting and doing business now. So Fastacash was actually born out of the idea of, if I can, from one of our founders, if he could send money, if he could send a picture to his daughter, send a message to his daughter in the UK from Singapore, why couldn't he send money the same way? Why did he need to set up, go into banking apps and set up all these different things, all these different checks and balances, all this personal information, rather than just being able to send that money very quickly and easily? So that's where Fastacash came from. Let's see. All right, so we've been very successful over the last few years. We've been incorporated for about 4.5 years now. We've been very successful. We've partnered with some local banks such as DBS in Singapore, Axis Bank in India, ICICI Bank in Singapore and in India, Techcom Bank in Vietnam. We've recently white-labeled our solution out to a payment service provider in India called EBS that was not too long ago acquired by Ingenico. As well, we've signed up a very strong partnership with Express Money, that's the third largest global remittance company in the world, behind Western Union and MoneyGram. So why is that important? Well, why these different banks and these different remittance companies are partnering with Fastacash is very simple. We're seeing a lot of different things move into the social world. So very quickly here over the last few years, we've seen billions and billions of people come on to social media platforms, and they're starting to interact with those platforms in different ways. So over the last, probably over the last 12 months, I'm sure you've all heard the success stories of WeChat in China, where you can pretty much spend the whole day in that app and never leave it, having purchased your groceries, called a taxi, transferred money to your friends and to your family, 8 billion transactions in a single day over WeChat during Chinese New Year. Well, those are the kind of things that we see as important and that we see the market moving towards, where people aren't just simply on these networks talking to each other and trading fun little pictures or making jokes. They're actually on these networks transacting in these ways and setting up these transactions. So a lot of times in the past, you might have called friends and family and said, hey, this is what I think about this particular thing, and then you send them a clip and you say, hey, what do you think about this color? Well, we are taking that to another level and saying, rather than just have that conversation and then have to exit that conversation and go to your banking app to make those things happen, we want to enable those things to happen inside of a merchant app or inside of a banking app so that you still have those social interactions on those platforms. So, and this gets to starting to lead into Kimberly-Clark, why we see this as important for companies like Kimberly-Clark. Person to merchant payments, P2M. Okay, we've seen strong indication in the market that that this is the way that the market is moving. Almost $300 billion by the end of 2016 will be transacted over mobile. That is outside of anything on a website. This is mobile sites. This is mobile apps. This is bill payments through mobile. So this is all happening over mobile. Again, and so as we move on with this, what we start to see in the remittance and the payments market, we've got PayPal, we've got Venmo, we've got Facebook. They're all active in different markets to transfer money. There haven't so much, we've got PayPal that's been alternative payments. We're starting to see a big push into alternative payments with different companies coming out with different ways to interact. So you've got Apple Pay, you've got Samsung Pay, but they're very closed environments. You have to, like with Apple Pay, right now in Singapore it's just launched, but you can only use it if you have American Express. We've got some of the social channels doing some interesting things like Line and WeChat that have opened up marketplaces on their platforms. But again, very closed loop systems where you have to subscribe to their service. You have to have a WeChat account to be able to move money or purchase on that platform. You have to have a Line account to be able to move money or purchase on that platform. But the indications are there. These platforms are doing it and people are participating. We've got billions of dollars exchanging over social. So we see this as a new way to make purchases. So it's no longer just one-way transaction, going to a site, picking your product and paying for it. We're seeing much more of a social commerce atmosphere where people are having conversations around these things through social, where they're using Pinterest and Instagram and these different platforms to share content and talk about different fashion trends, different products, and and what they think about those, if it's worth buying. And what would it be to just capture that, to capture those conversations and start trying to use those conversations to be able to grab part of that market share? Well, with our platform, you can do that. So this is just showing, I'll stop here for a few seconds. This is showing a demo experience that we created for an e-commerce site where we have one person doing the shopping, and rather than paying for that, they're asking a friend to pay for that product. So you can see the social media going on where they're attaching digital content to their message the same way that they would in the native app. So now this message is going to go over WhatsApp. So the person receives a message, sees that he's being asked to pay for something, and goes in to look at the transaction and agrees to pay for it. He chooses his payment method, and the transaction is done. So very seamless, very interactive experience without a whole bunch of cutting and pasting pictures, talking about what size do you wear, and those different things that you might normally have if you were asking someone to pay for something for you or buying a gift for one of your friends or family. So this is just one application of how we might work with an e-commerce site. There's tons of different things that we can do. Right now I've got ongoing conversations with loyalty platforms on how to make their loyalty points much more usable, how to move physical products across social media, which brings me into a concept that some wireframes that we created for this event to talk about a concept for Kimberly-Clark. So this is a concept of a baby registry where we have someone who's recently had a baby and they want to share that with their friends, as well as they have a gift registry for their friends to actually purchase gifts and things on their behalf. So if you see here in the first screen, it's a little bit hard to read. But you can see there's a selection of Kimberly-Clark products that the person has gone in and added to their gift registry. Now, rather than in other gift registries, what you might see in times past is adding email addresses onto the gift registry, and everybody gets an email, and they can opt in or choose to ignore the registry. This is taking that social and allowing this person to be able to, whether they have that person's email, phone number, or whatever, they can still invite them into that registry as long as they're a social contact without having any more information about that person than the simple fact they're connected to them on a social platform. So we've got a selection of different social media sites there. For I think this one, I think it's either WhatsApp or Facebook that they've chosen. But they've gone and they've invited all of their friends there. And in that one transaction, rather than having to send multiple different emails and messages to invite people to this experience, this one message goes out to that bulk of people in a single button click. Okay. So this is the recipient of the message. This is their experience. So they get a message. That is showing them being invited into that registry. They're able to see that selection of what the gifts selection is, and then they're able to choose what item they want, one or more items, and then be able to pay for those items in a single transaction, never having once had to share any of their personal information, email, phone number, credit card. None of that is necessary. We integrate directly with the existing payment gateway, so there's no need to sign on for any new services or work with one gateway or one payment service provider over another. We have a very open API, so we work with them all. And then once the purchase is complete, the person who's actually gotten, who the gift was actually purchased for, will get a notification through the same social media channel, letting them know that that purchase has been complete, and then showing them the amount of different products that have been purchased for them, so the different credits that they have for each of those different products. So as well, another play on this that I discussed with Gina is the idea. I know we've had some folks up here talking about IoT devices and how that different customer experience might be. And I heard the question around why would you use an IoT device over just using the mobile app? I would say an IoT device in this situation just becomes an extension of that mobile app and of the user experience. So I wouldn't say one over the other. I think they're complementary. And so then in the situation where we integrate with an IoT app, this person has a bunch of different credits from friends that have bought them diapers, baby wipes, all of these different things. And then with that IoT button, they can have those different products delivered to them on demand as they wish, or they could come into the app and have the same transaction where they can choose to have the products delivered on demand. Okay. So again, this is what we call request to pay. It's seamless, it's social, enhanced security. So I will spend a few seconds on our security layer. So we do practice SSL encryption. We have bank level security, obviously, because we work with a lot of payment gateways and banking organizations. So we have to be able to meet those security compliance and regulatory security concerns. So we do have a very strong security layer. And again, this is about making payment social, paying for anything, paying for anyone through any social channel that you choose to. All right. So I think I still have a few minutes for some Q&A.
I am somewhat confused about the service identity of that you explained it right now. Mm-hmm. I have met a solution provider which can support the social payment. They have their own payment tool, mm-hmm. and they have their own store. If you're a user, you upload the product information to their site, and they provide a link to every blogs and social media they can attach. Mm-hmm. And the visitors to your site, blogs and Facebook, they can click to pay. They can pay with their own solution, and then CS customer service and delivery will be supported their systems. Mm-hmm. And I cannot sure how much value chain your solution should be able to cover. Can you answer that?
Yeah. So what we do is, so our API, we integrate with the existing system. So what that means is you get to market faster. So if I understood what you're describing correctly, you're talking about a vendor that's building out a solution and taking ownership of that customer information and the payment information solely. So then they're having that entire experience, right? Okay, so that's very similar to, like, if you look at a social in a social setting. That's Line does something very similar in the Thailand market and in the Japanese market. The difference is it's a closed loop system. They have to be on that system in order to make that transaction, to be able to have those conversations. What we're offering is something quite different than that. Where we're offering that experience over any number of different social channels. The customer information stays with the merchant, stays with the bank, stays with the payment gateway, so the customer remains yours. Where in a situation with something like Line or WeChat or another closed loop system, that customer then becomes their customer, because they're the ones that are owning the customer information and they're the ones owning the customer experience.
My question's around the wireframes that you developed for the nappy registry. That's specifically something that the Huggies brand is looking at in Australia. I suppose I just want to clarify what you mean by a request for payment. Is it correct that I essentially could be saying, I'm about to have a baby, and I can set up my own social nappy registry in some respects in, let's say, Facebook, okay, which is, yeah. And I would then select a whole bunch of Huggies products, or could I select a value, like $20, $50, $40, etc. I would share that with all of my Facebook friends, which would include, Rahul and Deepshika, who are going to give me a lot for my nappy registry. And they could then opt to pay a certain amount towards that registry. So you guys would act as the way for me to actually take that payment. Is that correct?
That is correct. We would work with the existing payment gateway, so we wouldn't replace the payment gateway by any means. But we would partner and integrate with that payment gateway in order to facilitate the monetary transaction. Now, the same way that you see the products here in this wireframe on the right, that could easily be anything. That could be, so if you wanted it to a selection to be a coupon or a voucher for $20, it could easily be that coupon, and then we could maintain that in your systems, be it a loyalty system, be it an e-commerce system, where or if Kimberly Clark or the Huggies brand had a stored value card, which we're starting to see more and more of with a lot of vendors where they have their own stored value facility, we could also do that and integrate with the stored value facility to maintain those values and be able to trade those values to different people across social networks. Okay,
but we would have to have our own, I suppose, payment provider. Like, we would need a bank in Australia.
You would need a bank,
yep.
or yes, some sort of payment, some sort of payment
system overall. Okay, but we wouldn't necessarily need an e-commerce site per se. As long as I had a bank in Australia willing to take on that role, I potentially could do a nappy registry without requiring any kind of heavy end website dev or anything like that. It could be completely facilitated through social.
Yeah, you would have to have an interface. So yeah, you would have to have some sort of, it could be set up on Facebook to create a Facebook business page that has the same capabilities as an e-commerce site. Sure.
And what's the cost look like for something like that?
So we work on a SaaS model. Basically, for that it would essentially be, there would be an integration and a build fee for that type of experience, and then we would work on a monthly service fee that would be a monthly license subscription, and then a per transaction fee that typically varies depending on volume.
Fastacash and us are in a discussion to have a special pilot project fee. So that is basically, for our conversation tomorrow. So not too much details today.
Yeah, no, but
more the ideas of where it can lead to.
Yeah, and we're having similar conversations with companies with mobile solution providers and e-commerce sites, e-commerce providers in Korea, in Japan. So we really are seeing a lot of pickup as to how people want to do social commerce. So Japan and Korea are actually the two most powerful markets that we are finding right now, where people are wanting to adopt this, and not small like mom and pop shop type e-commerce sites. These are very large e-commerce players where they're actually providing the entire e-commerce paradigm to their merchant vendors.
Yes, question. Then we can take two more questions. Yeah. So one from Dan and the last one, Jamie. Then we will have to move to another topic.
Yes, I'll keep it short. So actually, this is really interesting to me because we were looking at this as far as like 4 or 5 years ago, and we were never really able to crack the commerce side of it. Mm-hmm. So actually, one question about, you're saying you could select multiple friends, right? So when you're talking about, for example, the Nappy font, you could select multiple people that would contribute to it.
Correct.
So what's the UX on their end? Would they see how much has already been contributed? Can they, when they go to that landing page, would they see how much they should contribute, etc.?
Yeah, so absolutely. So we can build it in such a way. So if in this concept here, if you see the final screen where the purchases have occurred and the notification has gone back to the recipient that someone has purchased them a gift, this could be set up where it shows, you can see the quantities here in the little circle, which is the number of credits that they have for each of those products. As well, we can attach the social identity of anybody who made that purchase. So you could see a list of people who have bought different products so that this person can go back and thank each of those people individually if they choose to. Absolutely.
Jamie?
So I'm from Korea. I can see this can be quite interesting in certain e-commerce platform like KakaoTalk in Korea. But if I think about this culture aspect of Korean people, people don't feel very comfortable at requesting someone to pay for something. So when you do this, is it possible that someone shop and actually maybe the list of friends can actually pick up what they want to pay? Or should it be how much basically, in order to request to pay, you need to have some idea how much this person is willing to pay for you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how does it work?
Well, so there's a bunch of different journeys you can have. So it's again, it's very open, and of course, in different markets, different cultures, there's different user experiences that apply. For what you just described, we might take them into a list of all the baby products that Kimberly-Clark offers. And let them decide what they want to purchase. So that for them, they just get invited to celebrate a friend's new baby, and then they can choose whether they want to give credits, whether they want to buy diapers, or what that might be. So there's a number of different ways you can. It doesn't have to be a request. Essentially, it's using our API to be able to connect to all these different social platforms and invite people into that experience so that they can mutually transact with each other, just the same way that they're having a conversation. And that's probably, for what you're describing with Korean culture, that's probably what I would look at doing, is really making it more of an interactive exchange where it's like, someone is alerting friends and family, their contacts, that they've had a baby, inviting them in, to join in that happiness and that experience, and then they can provide a gift if they choose to, whatever that gift or value might be. It could be. So yeah, so absolutely, and this is the idea of going viral, right? So this is how you can as well get new business and acquire new customers. When you start to get into these transactions, it's just like a normal conversation where you might, if you're planning a night out or a dinner with friends, you might invite all of those friends into a group. So the same thing is available here, where you can invite people that maybe are 1 degree removed from the person who had the baby, but another friend recognizes that person hasn't been invited to the registry by mistake, or simply because this person didn't have them on a social platform, and then that person can can invite them to this registry as well. So yeah, you really can get some viral activity driven out of this.